I think I'll start by telling you what I did, and some of you have probably heard some of this before. But if I tell you my own personal experiences first and then read to you the scriptures, it may help to put the scriptures in context and help you to understand more of this. So when you first start off learning magic, you're doing rituals to invoke or banish the elements, earth, air, fire, water. And you do it in the form of angels. Raphael, the archangel of the east, Gabriel, the archangel of the west, Michael, the archangel of the south, and Uriel, the archangel of the north. Those are the four that you start off with. They represent the energies within the physical body. The next step of the process, and this goes back to, remember a while back, not too long ago, maybe a week or so, when I was talking about a scripture in the Bible that says, put on the armor of light. The way you put on the armor of light is by invoking angels. But after you get used to doing those four angels, the way you get to the next step of the process, now there are many ways of doing this. There's not one way that is written in stone that you have to do. What you do have to do is work with the planetary energies, but there's a bunch of different forms you can do it in. So for example, the hexagram rituals, when you start invoking, using the invoking hexagram of Yesod, and then you're doing the invoking hexagram of Venus, and then the invoking hexagram of Mercury, like the way you're given them traditionally in orders or lodges, that's one way of working with those planetary energies. The other way, the way that I favor, because it was the way that I have had by far the most success with, is you can still continue to use the pentagrams, because you're going to use them again later anyway, only in a higher form when you transfer from using the lesser invoking pentagram to the supreme invoking pentagram. But you can use the pentagram rituals and just start adding the planetary energies, or the way I did it is by using the archangels that correspond to the spheres on the tree of life, because those spheres also embody planetary energies. You start invoking those. When you start doing that, you will know something is happening to you. You won't know exactly what it is, but you'll know you feel more confident. You feel more at peace. You don't get shaken by anything going on in the world. Outside circumstances and situations don't mean nearly as much to you. They're not going to rattle you anymore. But the way you do that, I'll go into that in just a second, because that's what I'll end you with. I'll give you that as the practice so that you can do to get you towards the next step of doing this work of transcending the Ouroboros. When I started doing that, after that, the next stage is invoking the angels or the energies of the astrological signs, the 12 signs of the zodiac. I did it with the angels, but you can also do it with pentagrams. You can use pentagrams, and you'll find this in the Golden Dawn book. But I'm just going to tell you how to do it using angels, because it was what I did. Like I said, there's more than one way to go about it. Whenever I started to do that, and this is also why I find this map more beneficial than the Tree of Life, is because on the Tree of Life, they put the abyss below Binah. Binah is the black sphere that embodies Saturn's energy. They put the abyss below Saturn. And part of the reason they do that is because you would have to put it at a weird wonky ass angle that wouldn't make any sense otherwise. So they put it below Saturn. I did not experience it below Saturn. And it is not below Saturn on this map. It is above Saturn. So you see the sphere that has the signs of the zodiac in it? That corresponds to Chachma on the Tree of Life. So you've got the Ouroboros or Leviathan or the abyss between Binah and Chachma. That was where I experienced it at in my own practice. The way you reach the next level is by invoking it. So say, for example, if you're at the level of Jupiter, the way you get from Jupiter to Saturn is by invoking Saturn. So when I was at the level of Saturn, I began invoking the archangels that corresponded to the zodiac, which are in Chachma. Well, it pulls you up. It's like when you're invoking it, you're pulling yourself towards that level. And see, this is what I mean about the terminology. You're not going anywhere. These things are inside you, but it feels like you're going somewhere. Those are the only words you will be able to use to articulate it. It feels like you are ascending towards something. Well, after I had been doing that for a while, probably about a month, every day for a month, for several hours a day, I started to see a light. This light, I'm using words to describe it that aren't exactly right, but these are the only words that I have. These are the only words that I can use to come close to getting it into a way that you can visualize what I'm saying. I started to see a light above me while I was doing magic, and I could feel that I was moving towards it a little more every day. The more magic I was doing, the more of these archangels I was invoking, the more I'm moving towards that light. I say moving towards, but it also feels more like you're getting closer to it. But at the same time, like I said earlier, this is something inside you. Well, I would have sworn, everything in me would have sworn that what I was seeing was the Empyrean, the mind of God. You know, it's like when you hear all those psychics say, telling ghosts, go towards the light, go into the light. You think, well, that must be what you're supposed to do. And I started striving with everything I had to reach that light. And it took me about a month, maybe two. It's hard to remember because this was a while ago. But it took me at least a month of, no, I mean, I was doing hours and hours and hours of work every day trying to reach this light. And when I suddenly reached it, it was like getting slammed back here, back into your physical body. And at first you think, what's the point of that? I did all of that struggling, all of that rising, all of that trying to reach the light just to come back here. Well, that's because it's not the Empyrean that you're seeing, that light. It's not the mind of God. It's a trick. It's a cycle. Most people don't experience this until they die. You have to do this while you are alive to break this cycle. When you die, it's too late. When you die, you're not going to know what's happening, and you're going to go into the light, and you're going to come back here. Well, I'm going to read you some scriptures now. So Job 41, verses 1 through 34, is dedicated to describing the Leviathan, which is what they call the Ouroboros in the Bible, in detail. It says, behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? That's exactly what happens to you. When you see Leviathan, you are cast back down into the earth realm, into the material plane of existence. That's what happens. When you see it, you're cast back down here. Included in God's lengthy description of his indomitable creation is Leviathan's fire-breathing ability, his impenetrable scales, and his overall indomitability. In Job 41, in Psalm 104, God is praised for having made all things, including Leviathan. In Isaiah, he is called the torturous serpent who will be killed at the end of time. What that means, he is killed at the end of time. When you transcend him, you are out of the dimensions of time and space. You know, I've said this before, how there are those who are not really here in the same sense that most people are. This is because their consciousness exists in a dimension that has transcended the limitations of time and space, which most people can't comprehend and which there is almost no way to articulate in human language. But whenever you reach that state, you have killed the Leviathan. You have destroyed the cycle that will make you keep incarnating back here over and over and over. The body of Leviathan, especially his eyes, possesses great illuminating power. This was the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, who in the course of a voyage in company with Rabbi Joshua explained to the latter, when frightened by the sudden appearance of a brilliant light, that it probably proceeded from the eyes of Leviathan. He referred to his companion to the words of Job. By his neesings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. That's what I saw. That's what you will see. You will see that light, that shining. That's what they're describing. They're calling it the eyes of Leviathan when you see that. In the Zohar, the Leviathan is a metaphor for enlightenment. The Zohar remarks that the legend of the righteous eating the skin of the Leviathan at the end of the days is not literal and merely a metaphor for enlightenment. What that means, eating the Leviathan, until you transcend it, it eats you, it swallows you. When you go into the light, you go into its mouth and you get spit out its other end back into this realm. It is eating you over and over and over. When you finally transcend it, you have devoured it. It can no longer, that will no longer happen to you. You will not incarnate in this realm with no control over it anymore. You will have eaten the Leviathan. Once you eat the Leviathan, you have passed into the dimensions that are beyond the levels of time and space, and that's what they're calling enlightenment. You will know what the physical realm really is, what heaven really is, what they're not, all that sort of stuff. In Gnosticism, the Leviathan appears as an Ouroboros, separating the divine realm from humanity by enveloping or permeating the material world. Further, according to this Gnostic sect, after death, a soul must pass through the 7 spheres of the archons. If the soul does not succeed, it will be swallowed by a dragon-shaped archon who holds the world captive and returns the soul into an animal body. Animal body just means flesh. Could be human, could be something else. Doesn't matter really. Whatever it is, it means you incarnate back into this realm. But it says you pass through the 7 spheres. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the 7 spheres of the archons. Those are the 7 levels of your own soul, your own aura. Whenever you incarnate into the physical realm, each of these levels shapes or forms in descending order. The last thing to form will be your physical body. You coming into this level of reality starts well before your physical body begins to form. You will start to descend down lower and lower, or denser and denser vibrational frequencies, until eventually the physical body begins to form. Whenever you die, this happens in reverse. The physical body dies, and then the next level starts to unravel, and then the next level starts to unravel, and then the next level starts to unravel until you reach back the Ouroboros or Leviathan, and then the whole process starts again. This level right here, this is all you're doing continually. You're coming down, you're going up, coming down, going up. That's what the incarnation process is. You have to get into these outer levels in order to disintegrate that, in order to stop that. A Jewish rabbinic legend describes a great battle which will take place at the end of time. It says, and it's talking about also, they don't just mention Leviathan in the Bible, they mention another beast called Behemoth. And it says they will, and they're saying there's a battle between them at the end of time. They will interlock with one another and engage in combat. With his horns, the behemoth will gore with strength. The fish, Leviathan, will leap to meet him with his fins, with power. Their creator will approach them with the mighty sword and slay them both. Then, from the beautiful skin of the Leviathan, God will construct canopies to shelter the righteous, who will eat the meat of the behemoth and the Leviathan amid great joy and merriment. This is what it's describing, the behemoth and the Leviathan, locked together. This tree behind them, that's the tree of life. You see it stuck in the middle of them there? And I told you a while ago, the tree of life is a map of you, a map of your aura, a map of your soul, a map of your psyche, your consciousness, all of those things. So again, this is basically showing the same thing. The tree of life is those 7 levels of your soul that come under the Leviathan, under Karanzan, whatever you want to call it.